The skis of Vareth were burning. What had once been a world of silver clouds and sapphire lakes was now shrouded in choking black smoke. The mountains where the Cathari people once glided on strong thermals were broken, jagged teeth rising from seas of fire. Their cities, carved from crystal and stone, cracked apart under the endless thunder of orbital bombardments. The invaders, the Drax Dominion, did not come for conquest alone. They came to erase. Their engines tore the soil, their drills pierced the mountains, their warships sucked the life from oceans. And their soldiers, scaled, cold-eyed, ruthless, marched with plasma spears through the ruins, binding survivors in chains. No one resisted the Drax, no one dared. The galaxy knew this truth. When the Dominion's banner shadowed your sky, your people were already dead. And so, the Cathari did the only thing left to them. They prayed. Elder Taina, matriarch of her surviving clan, knelt before the shattered gates of the Temple of Light. Her feathers, once a deep violet, were streaked gray with soot. Her wings hung limp, too weak to carry her into the air. She pressed her hands to the broken stone, feeling its warmth still from the last orbital strike. Around her huddled the remnants of her people, children with hollow eyes, parents clutching whatever scraps of food they had saved, warriors clutching spears snapped in half. Their songs, once proud hymns sung across mountaintops, were now whispers of despair. Taina lifted her head, her voice cracked but carried, echoing into the smoke-choked sky. If there are gods among the stars, hear us. If there are guardians beyond the void, see us. We are broken, but we wish to live. Save us, please, anyone, answer. Her plea rose into the storm. For a long time there was nothing. Only the roar of Dominion engines, the shriek of drills, the hiss of fire. Taina's heart sank. For generations, the Cathari had sung the old myths, that there were ancient protectors who had once defied tyrants. Deathworlders, they were called in hushed stories. Beings who had risen from a cursed, violent world and learned to tame poison winds, to build life amid storms. But those stories were centuries old. Surely they were just tales told to children to keep fear at bay. The children beside her began to sob. She folded her wings around them. Then something stirred. A sound broke through the smoke, not divine music, not holy thunder, but a signal. It came from the half-collapsed beacon buried beneath the temple steps. A rusted transmitter, long forgotten, sparked back to life. Its voice was jagged, rough, scarred with static. Is Captain Elias Cade, United Terran Free Forces. If anyone can hear this, you are not alone. Humanity is coming. The words rang sharp and alien, harsh consonants, weighted vowels, the kind of voice shaped not in soft temples but in storms and fire. The survivors froze. Humanity. The word itself seemed to ripple through the crowd. The old stories returned unbidden of a race forged in a world of death, who had clawed their way into the stars with machines and fury. They had been gone for centuries, vanishing from galactic councils, pulling back to the shadows. Some said they had destroyed themselves, others said they were waiting. Now they claimed to be coming. Could it be true? Before hope could take root, the sky split. The Dominion had found the temple. A massive dropship, bone-white and armored with jagged plating, descended through the smoke. Its engines churned ash into firestorms. Its drills and claws unfolded, hungering for the crystals beneath the temple. The ground shook, children screamed, warriors raised their broken weapons. Elder Taina bowed her head. If this was to be their end, let it be swift. Then the heavens thundered again, louder. A new shape tore through the void, angular, scarred. It carried no shining banners, no golden crowns. Its hull was ugly, scarred with burns and weld marks. Entire plates were mismatched, as though scavenged from the carcasses of other ships, but it moved with purpose. The Resolute, a human warship. It did not descend gently. It fell like a spear, engines howling, weapons already glowing with fire. The Dominion soldiers paused, their reptilian eyes narrowing. They had seen prey cower, kneel, beg. They had never seen prey charge. The Resolute's cannons opened fire. Slugs of magnetized tungsten screamed through the void. They punched into the Dominion dropship's underbelly, piercing armor, rupturing fuel lines. The explosion lit the sky in silver flame. For the first time in living memory, a Drax ship burned in Vareth skies. The Cathari cried out in disbelief. Some wept, others fell to their knees. Children pointed upward, eyes wide with awe. And Elder Taina whispered, her voice trembling, The Deathworlders are real, but the battle was only beginning. From orbit, 3 more Dominion warships detached, descending like predators. Their weapons locked on the lone human vessel, their commanders snarled in fury. The Resolute, battered, outnumbered, turned to face them. Inside its bridge, Captain Elias Cade, scarred soldier, exile, human, tightened the straps on his harness and gave his order in a voice carved from iron. All hands, battle stations. If they want to fight, let's show them what humans are made of. The ship dove headlong into impossible odds. The Resolute was no jewel of the stars. Its hull was scarred, scorched, and dented from years of battles no one else had survived. Sections of plating were welded over with mismatched alloys. An entire stabilizer wing had been replaced with salvaged Dominion metal, painted black to disguise its origin. Its engines wheezed when stressed. Its cannons rattled when they fired. But for all its scars, it still flew. And in the galaxy, there was one undeniable truth. When humans built something, they built it to last, even when everything else said it shouldn't. On the bridge, Captain Elias Cade stood at the viewport as 3 Dominion warships descended like wolves closing on a wounded prey. Cade was no god, no savior. He was a man who had seen too much war and carried the weight of every decision like iron chains. His left arm was steel, a prosthetic grafted after a Dominion plasma blast had burned the flesh away years ago. His right eye was covered by a patch, the skin around it scarred deep. His uniform was patched, his boots scuffed, his jaw unshaven. But when he spoke, every soul on the Resolute listened. "Lock targeting systems," he said. His voice was low, calm, like a storm just before it broke. At the gunnery station, Juno Reese, a wiry woman with tattoos of stars across her neck, cracked her knuckles. "Targets locked, all 3. At the helm, Lieutenant Myra Chen gripped the controls. She was younger than most, her dark hair tied back, her eyes sharp and alive with stubborn fire. "Captain, if we take all 3 head-on, they'll slice us apart in under a minute." "We're not taking them head-on," Cade muttered, his one good eye narrowed. "We're taking them apart." The Dominion warships moved in perfect formation. Smooth, bone-white hulls gleamed in the firelight of Varith's burning atmosphere. Their weapons arrays glowed with plasma lances powerful enough to crack cities in half. Against them, the Resolute looked like a scavenger's scrap pile. But the humans had something the Dominion had never learned to fear enough: desperation married to ingenuity. "Chen," Cade ordered, "dive, take us into their formation." The young lieutenant blinked. "Into it, that's suicide." "Suicide for them," Cade said. Without hesitation, Chen yanked the controls. The Resolute pitched forward, engines roaring, and dove straight into the narrow gap between the Dominion ships. Alien commanders froze in confusion. No prey ever charged into their formation. Prey fled, prey begged, prey knelt. The Resolute hurtled past the first warship's nose, skimming so close that sparks cascaded from grazing hulls. Juno opened fire point-blank. Tungsten rounds smashed into plasma conduits, erupting into blue-white explosions that shuddered through the Dominion vessel. "Target crippled," Juno shouted. "Roll us under the second," Cade barked. Chen's hands flew. The Resolute twisted, scraping along the belly of the second warship. The vibrations rattled teeth. Warnings flashed red across every screen. Still, the humans fired. Point-blank rounds shredded the Dominion's undercarriage, breaching decks, venting atmosphere. Alien crew screamed into the void. The second warship faltered, engines sputtering. But the third had adjusted. It swung wide, plasma cannons charging. The blast struck the Resolute broadside. The ship screamed as metal warped. Sparks erupted across the bridge. Crew were thrown to the floor. A console exploded in flame, throwing one technician across the deck. "Shields at 20%, Mara shouted. "Stabilizers gone," another officer cried. Cade gritted his teeth, grabbing the railing with his steel hand. "Keep firing. If they want us dead, make them bleed for it." Juno swore as her gunnery console spat sparks. She rerouted power manually, slamming fists against overheating controls. Weapons back online in 5, 4, 3. The Dominion ship fired again. The bridge lit in fire. Cade roared over the chaos. "Now." Juno slammed her fist down. The Resolute's cannon spat a storm of tungsten. The rounds tore through the Dominion ship's plasma coils mid-charge. The vessel detonated in a blinding shockwave, ripping itself in half. The bridge fell silent, except for labored breathing and sparking consoles. 2 Dominion ships crippled, 1 destroyed. 1 human vessel still standing. Down on Varith's surface, the Cathari survivors watched in awe. For the first time in living memory, the sky was not filled with only the burning claws of the Dominion. It was filled with fire that fought back. Elder Tana stood tall, her ash-streaked feathers trembling. She whispered to the children at her side. The Deathworlders are not myth. They bleed, but they do not fall. They fight even when hope is ash. The children's eyes lit with something they had never known before. Hope. On the Resolute's bridge, the crew struggled to catch their breath. Alarms blared, smoke filled the air. Mara wiped blood from her forehead and looked at Cade. "Captain, we can't hold this forever. More Dominion ships are in orbit. Once they regroup, they'll bury us." Cade nodded grimly. He knew she was right. 1 ship, even a human one, could not win a war. But 1 ship could start one. Before he could give another order, the comms crackled. Not Dominion, not Cathari, something new. A voice, sharp and desperate, broke through. "Human vessel, do you hear me? I am Commander Varix of the Free Clans. We have been waiting for you." The bridge froze. Cade frowned, eye narrowing. "Free Clans, that's impossible. They were crushed decades ago." The transmission came again, stronger. "We are not crushed. We are not gone. We heard the old stories. We prayed the Deathworlders would return. And now, you have. If you stand against the Dominion, you will not stand alone." On the scorched surface below, Elder Tana clutched her chest as her translator implant caught the same broadcast. Her eyes widened. The Cathari were not the only ones who had prayed. The Resolute drifted in the smoke-choked skis above Varith, scarred but alive. Fire still smoldered across its hull, venting trails of atmosphere into the void. The crew patched systems with frantic hands, rewiring consoles with scrap, welding burst pipes with handheld torches. Humanity had no luxury of perfection. They made do or they died. Captain Elias Cade stood at the center of the bridge, listening to the incoming transmission. The voice, alien but steady, echoed again. "We are the Free Clans. We have been waiting for you." The crew exchanged wary glances. Mara Chen leaned over the comms console, scanning the signal. "Captain, the origin trace is strange. It's coming from the asteroid belt just beyond this system, masked under Dominion encryption but not Dominion craft." Cade grunted. "Bold trick, could be a trap." "Could be hope," Mara countered softly. Cade didn't reply. His one good eye was fixed on the stars beyond the viewport, his jaw set tight. The transmission continued. The voice was clearer now, translated through the ship's crude linguistic algorithms. "I am Commander Varix. The Dominion claims the clans are dust, but we endure. Scattered, broken, yes, but not extinguished. We heard the signal of humanity's return, and we answered. If you seek to defy the Dominion, then you will not fight alone." Cade exhaled slowly. His steel hand drummed on the railing. "Patch them through visual," he said. The screen flickered, then resolved into the image of a being unlike the Cathari. Varix's form was tall, draped in battle-worn armor patched from dozens of cultures. His skin was dark bronze, scaled in ridges across his head and shoulders, but his eyes, piercing silver, held no malice. They held fatigue and resolve. Behind him, a dimly lit command deck bustled with other aliens of varied species. Scarred, lean, and armed, they looked like outlaws, survivors. Cade studied them, his face unreadable. "You've been hiding a long time." Varix inclined his head. "Waiting, watching. We knew we could not defeat the Dominion alone, but the myths spoke of your kind, the Deathworlders, a people who do not kneel, a people who make weapons from nothing, who rise from fire stronger than before. We thought you extinct, yet here you stand." The alien commander leaned closer. "Tell me, Captain Cade, do humans still fight as the myths say?" The bridge fell silent. The crew waited, eyes on their captain. Cade's jaw clenched. His eye hardened, though for a moment Myra thought she saw something else flicker there, doubt or grief. When he spoke, his voice was gravel. "Humanity fights when we have to. We bleed, we break, we burn, but we don't stop. If you're asking whether we'll stand against the Dominion," he leaned closer to the screen, "then yes, we'll fight." The bridge erupted in murmurs, relief, tension, fear. Varix's expression softened. "Then perhaps there is still hope." Later, in the quiet of the medbay, Elder Tana of the Cathari stood before Cade. She had been brought aboard the Resolute, her wings folded, her feathers still streaked with ash. The human medics had given her water, food, clean wrappings for her burns. It was more kindness than she had seen in weeks. "You are real," she whispered, her voice trembling. "The Deathworlders live." Cade smirked faintly, though his eyes stayed cold. "We're not myths, Elder, just stubborn." Taina stepped closer, her delicate frame trembling under the ship's artificial gravity. "My people prayed, Captain, for anyone to save us, and it was you who came. I cannot believe it is chance." Cade looked away, jaw tight. "Don't mistake us for saviors. We're not here because the stars told us to be. We're here because the Dominion needs to be bled. That's all." Taina studied him, her ancient eyes sad. "Perhaps, but I have lived long enough to know when the void answers a prayer." In the war room, Cade met with Varix via hololink. The alien commander's forces were meager, half a dozen raider ships hidden in the asteroid belt, patched together like the Resolute. But they carried weapons, fuel, and above all, knowledge of Dominion patrol routes. It was more than Cade had expected. But trust was another matter. "You're asking me to join a rebellion that supposedly died out decades ago," Cade said bluntly. Varix bared sharp teeth in something like a smile. "You already have, Captain. By firing on the Dominion, you've declared yourself. They will never forgive, never forget. Even if you wish to run, there is no place in the galaxy you could hide." Cade said nothing. He already knew that. Varix's silver eyes glimmered. "The question is not whether you fight, it is whether you fight alone." The decision weighed on Cade like iron. His crew watched him silently, waiting. Mara Chen finally broke the quiet. "Sir," she said softly, "this is what we came back for. We can't just bleed and leave. If there's a chance to hit the Dominion harder to help worlds like Varith, don't we take it?" Cade turned his gaze on her. His voice was low, rough. "You don't know what you're asking. I've seen what happens when we stand too long. People die, not just soldiers, everyone, children, families, whole cities." Mara didn't flinch. "And if we walk away, Captain, they die anyway." The bridge was silent. Finally, Cade exhaled, slow and heavy. "Prepare a course to the asteroid belt. Let's see if these free clans are more than ghosts." In the shadows of the Dominion fleet, other eyes were watching. On the surface of Varith, the Dominion's planetary commander, a Drax officer named Zerathkul, studied the battles from his spire. His scaled claws tapped the edge of his command chair as reports streamed in. "Humans." The word hissed in his throat like poison. He had thought them extinct or hiding in forgotten corners. Now they returned, daring to defy the Dominion. Worse, they inspired others. The Cathari's eyes had lit with hope. The free clans were stirring. This could not be allowed. "Dispatch the Black Choir," Zerathkul ordered coldly. "Spread the word across the systems. Tell them the humans are monsters reborn. Tell them the Deathworlders bring only ruin. Make the galaxy fear them again." His lips curled in a cruel smile. "And send a spy among the free clans. If the humans rally them, I want their alliance shattered from within." Back aboard the Resolute, Elder Taina stood at the viewport, watching the Dominion fleet regroup above her world. Smoke rose from her feathers as if the ash had become part of her. Beside her, Mara Chen crossed her arms. "You still think they're myths?" she asked softly. Taina's voice was low. "No, they are Deathworlders, which means they are not gods, they are something far more dangerous." She turned to face Mara, her eyes bright with fierce determination. "They are mortals who refuse to kneel." Hours later, as the Resolute aligned with the asteroid belt, a message appeared on Cade's private console. Not from Varix, not from the Dominion. It was short, encrypted in Dominion code, but the meaning was clear. "The humans cannot be trusted. They will destroy you, betray them, or be consumed." Cade stared at the words, his steel hand tightening on the console edge. Someone among the free clans had already whispered betrayal. The Dominion wasted no time. Across the occupied systems, their propaganda engines roared to life. Holofeeds blared from stolen transmitters, spreading one message into every home, every garrison, every market. "The Deathworlders have returned." Images, real and fabricated, flooded the galaxy. Grainy recordings of humans on long-forgotten battlefields, faces twisted with rage, bodies drenched in blood. Spliced clips of Terran war machines crushing alien cities. Children crying, buildings burning, soldiers screaming. The Dominion painted it as truth. They are not saviors, they are predators. They rise only to slaughter. They bring no peace, no hope, only ruin. And for many across the stars, who had only heard myths of humanity's brutal past, the images were enough. Fear spread faster than fire. On the Resolute, Captain Elias Cade sat in the war room, watching the Dominion's broadcast replay on a cracked holoscreen. His jaw was tight, his one good eye shadowed. Mara Chen paced, her fists clenched. They're twisting everything, making us the monsters. They don't have to twist much, Cade muttered bitterly. The room fell silent. Crew members exchanged uneasy glances. Juno the gunner frowned. What's that supposed to mean? Cade didn't answer at first. His steel hand tapped the table, a dull metallic rhythm. Finally, he exhaled. Because once we were monsters. He told them what he had never spoken aloud since he took command. Years ago, during the Outer Colonies' rebellion, his unit had been deployed to defend a human settlement under siege. Supplies were thin, enemy forces overwhelming. The order came down from high command, hold at all costs. They held by turning the colony itself into a fortress. Streets mined, homes barricaded, civilians conscripted. When the siege broke, the enemy was dead, but so were hundreds of colonists, children among them. Cade had carried out the orders, and afterward he had walked away. He had never forgiven himself. Now the Dominion spread stories of humans as ruthless butchers, and in his heart, Elias Cade wondered if maybe once they weren't wrong. Meanwhile, in the asteroid belt, Commander Varix of the Free Clans received the same broadcasts. His officers murmured, unsettled. Some demanded to cut ties with the humans before it was too late. They cannot be trusted, one growled. Look at their history, they will burn us the moment it suits them. Varix raised a clawed hand for silence. His silver eyes were hard. And who spread these stories? The Dominion. The same tyrants who butcher our people, strip our worlds, and enslave our children. If they fear humanity so much, perhaps that is proof enough that we should stand beside them. Still doubt lingered, and doubt was poison. On Varith, the Dominion's ground forces tightened their grip. Cities fell silent. Survivors were rounded into camps. In the ashes of the Temple of Light, Elder Taina rallied what few Cathari remained free. She led them through tunnels and mountain passes, carrying scraps of food, whispering songs of endurance. But the Dominion was relentless. One night under the light of burning skis, a squad of Dominion hunters fell upon the refugees. Plasma spears cut down warriors, nets entangled wings, screams echoed in the caverns. Taina stood at the rear, urging children forward, when a scaled hand seized her throat. She was dragged, bound, before Commander Zerath Kull himself. The Drax overlord studied her with reptilian disdain. Elder of the Cathari, he hissed. You spoke prayers to the void, and something answered. Tell me where the Deathworlders hide. Taina met his burning gaze, and though fear trembled in her bones, she spat at his feet. I will tell you nothing. Zerath Kull's lips curled into a cruel smile. Then you will tell me everything in time. News of her capture reached the Resolute 2 days later. Cade's crew listened in grim silence as the report came through. Dominion forces had paraded her through the streets of Varith's capital, a symbol of broken resistance. She was alive, but not for long. Interrogations would come, and the Dominion had many ways to make even the strongest speak. Mara slammed her fist against the console. We can't let them take her. She kept her people alive long enough for us to get here. We owe her everything. Juno muttered darkly. The Dominion's baiting us. They want us to charge in blind. All the same, Mara said, her voice fierce, we can't just leave her. All eyes turned to Cade. He sat in silence, jaw tight, eyes shadowed. His mind replayed the colony, orders followed, civilians lost. If he acted recklessly now, more would die. If he did nothing, Taina would be broken, her people crushed. Finally, he stood. We get her back, Cade said. His voice was iron. Not because it's bait, not because it's strategy, because it's right. The crew straightened. The decision was made. But in the dark of the comms chamber, another transmission slipped through. Encrypted, hidden, masked as static, a whisper. Human vessel, the Free Clans are not united. Some believe the Dominion's words. Some plot against you even now. Do not trust Commander Varix. Betrayal is already among you. Mara read it, her stomach twisting. She didn't know whether to believe it. Could be Dominion lies, could be truth. Either way, it meant one thing. The fragile alliance was cracking before it had even begun. That night, Cade stood alone on the bridge, staring at the stars. His steel hand clenched the railing, his mind heavy with ghosts. The Dominion wanted the galaxy to believe humans were monsters, and maybe he had been once. But monsters didn't answer prayers. And Elias Cade swore that if he had to burn his ship to ash, if he had to bleed every drop left in his body, he would prove them wrong. The crew's oath was silent but unanimous. Humanity had answered once, and now they would not turn back. In the capital of Verith, Elder Taina knelt in chains as the Dominion's machines whirred around her, preparing instruments of pain. Commander Zarathkal loomed above, his fangs glinting in the light. "You will tell us where they hide," he hissed. "The Deathworlders will not save you. They will not save anyone. They are already dead." And for the first time, doubt flickered in Taina's heart. Would the myths hold true, or had her prayers brought her people a new doom? The Dominion prison fortress loomed over Verith's capital like a fang driven into the planet's heart. It had been raised in days, forged from landed warships welded together, its walls bristling with plasma turrets. Inside, Elder Taina knelt in chains. The air was thick with chemicals, truth serums, hallucinogens, neural disruptors. Machines whirred and clicked around her, their arms tipped with needles, blades, and probes designed to break body and mind alike. But she would not break. Commander Zarathkal paced before her, his scaled tail scraping the floor. His fanged grin widened as he gestured to the instruments. "You see, Elder, the Deathworlders are no gods. Already our fleets close upon them. Their ship will fall. Their bones will join yours in the dust." Taina met his gaze with trembling wings, but her eyes burned with fire. "You think pain will make me betray them," she said. Her voice quavered but did not yield. "But you forget I prayed for their coming. If they die, then so do I. That was the bargain." Her defiance lit a spark in her captor's cold chamber, and sparks once lit are hard to extinguish. High above the city, the Resolute descended through ash-filled skis. In its belly, human soldiers and Cathari volunteers strapped themselves into harnesses, faces grim. They were not many, barely 24 humans, a few dozen winged Cathari warriors with hastily repaired gear. Against a fortress of hundreds, it was madness. But humanity thrived in madness. Captain Elias Cade checked the magazine of his rail rifle, the weapon scarred and dented from years of use. Mara Chen stood at his side, double-checking their landing thrusters. Her eyes were sharp, her voice steady, but her hands trembled when she thought no one looked. "You're sure about this?" she asked. "No," Cade admitted. He tightened the straps on his harness. "But since when did being sure ever keep us alive?" Mara snorted softly. "That's a very human answer." "Damn right." The drop bay doors opened. The city spread below like a scar, streets cracked, buildings gutted, Dominion patrols stalking the ruins. At the center rose the fortress, its white metal walls glowing in the firelight. "Go," Cade roared. They dropped. Humans first, armored bodies hurtling through the ash, guided by jets strapped to their backs. Cathari followed, their wings carrying them with desperate, defiant strength. The Dominion looked up too late. The humans hit the ground like meteors. Their rifles spat tungsten slugs, tearing through scaled flesh. The Cathari swept from above, spears plunging into armored throats. The air filled with smoke, blood, and the roar of battle. For the first time, Verith's capital heard the sound of resistance. The Dominion were disciplined but predictable. They advanced in straight lines, relying on overwhelming force. Against most species, it was unstoppable. Against humans, it was a weakness. "Flank left," Cade barked. His steel arm slammed a charge pack into his rifle. Chen collapsed that archway. Myra planted explosives against a broken column. The blast toppled it into the advancing Dominion, crushing half a squad beneath rubble. The survivors stumbled, their formation broken, just as the Cathari dove upon them from above, shrieking war cries. It was chaos, brutal and fast, exactly what humans thrived in. Cade's rail rifle bucked against his shoulder, rounds ripping through scaled chests. Beside him, Juno swung a plasma cutter like a sword, carving through armor. Human ingenuity, scrap turned into weapons, shocked the Dominion, who had never seen prey improvise death so quickly. The Cathari fought with renewed fire, emboldened by the humans' fury. Their wings spread wide, their spears glowing as they struck. It wasn't enough to win outright, but it was enough to push forward. Toward the fortress. Inside her cell, Elder Tana heard the explosions. The walls shook. The screams of Dominion soldiers echoed through the halls. Zarathkul snarled, his scales bristling. Impossible, no one defies us here. Tana smiled through bloody lips. You don't know humans. The assault reached the fortress gates. Towers spat plasma fire, forcing the humans to duck behind rubble. Charges, Cade shouted. Two soldiers sprinted forward under covering fire, slamming explosives against the gate. Plasma bolts seared the ground around them, one striking a soldier through the chest. He fell, smoke rising from his armor. His partner dragged him back even as the charges detonated. The gates blew inward in a storm of fire and steel. Move, Cade bellowed. They surged into the fortress, rifles blazing. Corridors filled with smoke and screams. Dominion soldiers fell, their cold discipline no match for human ferocity in close quarters. Cathari wings swept through, spears stabbing from above while humans tore through barricades below. Every corner, every hall became a storm of blood. In the central chamber, Tana's chains snapped as Cade's rifle tore through her captors. He stepped through smoke and flame, his steel arm dragging a Dominion soldier off the ground before slamming him into the wall. His eye locked on Tana. Elder, he said gruffly, cutting her bonds. Time to go. Tana staggered free, her wings trembling, her body broken but her spirit fierce. She looked up at him with tears in her eyes. You came. Cade smirked faintly. We don't leave our own behind. But the victory was short-lived. As the humans and Cathari fell back toward the streets, alarms blared across the fortress. Dominion reinforcements poured from dropships above, their numbers overwhelming. Plasma fire rained down. Fall back to the Resolute, Myra shouted. They sprinted through smoke and rubble, dragging the wounded, covering each other with bursts of gunfire. Cathari wings carried children overhead while humans held the line below. By the time they reached the extraction point, half their force was gone. And the Dominion was not finished. High above, the Resolute waited, scarred but ready. Its drop bay opened as the survivors scrambled aboard. But even as the last Cathari were pulled inside, a shadow fell across the hangar. A Dominion boarding craft smashed into the hull, spewing soldiers into the corridors. The Resolute shuddered, alarms blaring. Crew shouted as red lights bathed the decks. Boarders, Juno yelled, raising her cutter. They're inside. Cade's steel hand clenched around his rifle. His eye burned with fury. The humans had saved Elder Tana, struck a blow in the heart of Dominion power. But now the Dominion was inside their only ship. And there would be no running. The corridors of the Resolute became a killing ground. Dominion soldiers poured through the ruptured hull breach, their scaled bodies glistening in the red emergency lights. Plasma rifles spat streaks of green fire that scorched the bulkheads and boiled the air. But they had boarded the wrong ship. Humans met them head-on. Juno Reese swung her plasma cutter like a glowing axe, slicing through armor and flesh alike. Mara Chen ducked under a spear thrust and drove her sidearm into the soldier's chest, firing until his scaled body collapsed. Seal bulkhead 4, Cade barked, his rail rifle hammering thunder down the hallway. Each shot ripped holes in Dominion ranks, spraying black blood across the steel. Don't give them room to regroup. The Dominion had numbers, the humans had fury. Every corridor became a trap, plasma lines rerouted to electrocute entire squads, hull panels ripped off to form barricades, vents used to flank attackers. The ship groaned, shuddered, but it fought as much as its crew. It was war in its purest form, chaotic, bloody, close enough to taste the iron tang of death. Deep in the lower decks, Elder Tana and her Cathari guarded the wounded. Her wings spread wide, trembling with exhaustion, but her spear was firm. She had prayed for saviors, and now she saw them, not gods, but mortals who refused to kneel. A Dominion soldier burst into the chamber. Tana lunged, driving her spear into his chest with a cry that shook the children behind her. She whispered to them, her voice fierce. Remember this day, the Deathworlders bleed, but they do not break. Neither will we. On the bridge, Mara Chen slammed a hand against a console. Captain, more Dominion ships are closing. We can't hold them back much longer. Cade's jaw clenched. He glanced at the tactical display. 3 heavy cruisers were converging, their weapons arrays glowing. If they struck now, the Resolute would be torn apart, boarded or not. They couldn't fight them in the open, not anymore. Unless... Cade's one good eye narrowed. His steel hand tightened on the railing, prepped the overload sequence. The crew froze. Myra's head snapped toward him. "Captain, no, that'll blow the core. The ship will tear itself apart." "Exactly," his voice was iron. "We turn the Resolute into a bomb, take the bastards with us." "Sir, that's an order." The silence that followed was heavy, broken only by the groan of the wounded ship. Finally, Juno slammed a fresh magazine into her sidearm, her tattoos streaked with blood and soot. "Hell of a way to go out," she muttered. Myra's voice cracked, but her eyes stayed locked on Cade. "If we do this, there's no coming back." Cade didn't flinch. "We were never coming back." In the engineering bay, humans and Cathari worked side by side, wiring explosives to fuel conduits, overloading plasma regulators. Sparks rained down as systems were pushed past limits they were never meant to reach. The ship screamed as though it knew what was coming. On the bridge, Cade activated the comms. "This is Captain Elias Cade of the Resolute. To every free soul listening, this is what it means to stand. We're outnumbered, outgunned, but we're not backing down. You want to know what Deathworlders are? We're the ones who take the enemy with us." Across the stars, hidden receivers caught the transmission. The free clans listened in silence. Oppressed worlds heard the human's voice and felt something stir deep within. The Dominion's propaganda called them monsters, and here they were, choosing to burn themselves to give others a chance to fight. As the overload neared, Dominion boarders realized the trap. They tried to retreat back to their ships, but the humans hunted them through the halls, driving them deeper, forcing them to choke in the fire with everyone else. "Captain," Myra shouted, consoles sparking around her. "Core overload in 90 seconds. Cade's steel arm trembled as he gripped his rifle. His one good eye swept across his crew, bloody, scarred, exhausted, but unbroken. "Evac pods," Juno growled. "We can get some of them out." "Not enough for everyone," Myra said. Cade made his choice. "You and Juno take the elder and the kids," he ordered. His voice was hard, but under it was something else, quiet grief. "I'll stay." Mara's face went pale. "No, you can't." "This is my ship," his voice cut like steel, "and I won't ask anyone to die a death I won't share." The Dominion fleet moved closer, unaware of the scale of what was coming. Plasma lances charged, rail cannons aligned. Inside the Resolute, fire raced through the corridors. Systems failed one by one. The last evac pods launched, carrying Elder Tana and the youngest survivors into the void. She pressed a trembling hand to the glass, watching the scarred human warship burn as it turned to face the impossible. On the bridge, alarms wailed. Sparks rained down. Cade stood tall, his rifle slung over his back, his steel arm clutching the railing. His good eye burned with a grim fire. "Come on, you bastards," he whispered. "Let's see how you like a Deathworld welcome." The core detonated. The explosion ripped across the void. The Resolute became a star, fire lashing outward in a storm that tore through the Dominion cruisers. One ship vaporized instantly. Another split in half, venting crew into the void. The third limped away, bleeding plasma, its hull scorched black. On the surface of Varith, the people looked up and saw the sky alight with fire. And they knew the Deathworlders had struck a blow no one else dared. But not all fire is clean. In the last moments before the detonation, Myra had disobeyed. She had dragged Cade into the final evac pod by force, blood streaking her arms, tears burning her eyes. The shockwave hurled them clear, their pod spinning end over end through the void. When it steadied, she turned to him. Cade lay slumped, blood pouring from a wound in his side where shrapnel had pierced him. His breath rattled, his steel arm sparked weakly. "Captain," Mara cried, pressing her hands against the wound. "Stay with me." His eye opened, clouded with pain but still burning. "Did we get them?" he rasped. "You crippled the whole damn fleet," Mara whispered, choking on tears. A faint smile touched his lips. "Good, then it was worth it." His eye closed, his body went still. Mara screamed his name into the void as the stars blurred around them. The escape pod drifted through the wreckage of the Dominion fleet. Shattered warships floated like broken bones in the void, their flames slowly dying in the cold embrace of space. Inside, Mara Chen knelt beside her captain. Elias Cade's body was still. His blood pooled in the cramped pod, his breath shallow and ragged. His steel arms sparked, circuits fried by the shockwave. His good eye was closed. Mara pressed her hands harder against his wound, her own face streaked with soot and tears. "Don't you dare leave us now," she whispered fiercely. "Not after all this. You're not done. You hear me? You're not done." The pod shuddered, caught in a tractor beam. For a moment, Mara thought the Dominion had found them, but the vessel that loomed overhead was not white and skeletal. It was patched, mismatched, scarred, like the Resolute had been. The Free Clans. They were pulled aboard a raider ship called the Stormfang, its decks crowded with alien warriors. The air reeked of smoke, oil, and blood. Commander Varric stood at the airlock, his silver eyes widening as Mara stumbled out carrying her unconscious captain. "By the stars," Varric muttered, "he lives." "Barely," Mara rasped. "Get me a med bay now." Cade was rushed into the care of alien medics. Their tools were crude by galactic standards, but where the Dominion tortured, the Free Clans healed. Biogels sealed ruptured organs, stimulants forced his heart to beat. They were not sure if he would survive, but they refused to let him go without a fight. Watching through the glass, Elder Tana clutched her wings tight around herself. Her voice was low but fierce. "He cannot die, not yet. The galaxy needs to see that humanity does not break." Outside, the stars were alive with whispers. The Resolute's last transmission had spread farther than the Dominion could silence. In hidden camps, in slave pits, in shattered colonies, species long thought cowed raised their heads. "The Deathworlders fight still," they murmured. "They bleed, they burn, but they stand." And something long buried began to stir. In the Free Clan's War Council, Varric addressed the gathered leaders. Hollow projections of scarred faces filled the chamber, dozens of alien captains, many skeptical, some openly hostile. "The Dominion reels," Varric said. "A single human ship tore through their fleet and lived long enough to cripple 3 cruisers. If we strike now, we can drive them from Varith entirely." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. One captain snarled, "And what happens when the humans turn their fire on us next? The Dominion says they are monsters. Perhaps they are right." Varric's silver eyes narrowed. "Monsters do not sacrifice their only ship to save another people's world. Monsters do not bleed themselves dry so that others may rise. Tell me, when was the last time anyone else defied the Dominion and won?" Silence followed. Slowly, one by one, the captains nodded. The Free Clans would fight. Meanwhile, in the medbay, Elias Cade stirred. His breaths were ragged, his body heavy, but his mind clawed its way back from the dark. His eye opened to see Mara beside him, her face streaked with exhaustion. Elder Tana stood at his other side, her feathers still singed but her eyes alight with fierce pride. "You stubborn bastard," Mara whispered, half laughing, half crying. "I thought we lost you." Cade's lips cracked into the faintest smirk. "Not yet." Tana leaned closer, her voice trembled. "You answered our prayer, Captain. My people live because of you, and now others will rise because they saw you stand." Cade's throat was raw, but he managed a rasp of words. "Then don't waste it." The battle for Varith raged again. The Free Clans descended in force, their raiders striking Dominion ships still reeling from the Resolute sacrifice. Cathari warriors rose from the mountains, wings spread wide, spears reforged from scavenged Dominion steel. And at the heart of it all, even wounded, Cade gave orders from the Stormfang's command deck. "Hit their supply lines," he barked, his steel arms sparking as he leaned on the railing. "Don't fight them where they're strong, bleed them where they're weak." The clans listened. They had doubted him once. Now they saw the fire in his one good eye and obeyed. Hours later, the Dominion fleet broke. Crippled, scattered, its survivors fled into the void. For the first time in generations, a world had been freed from their grasp. When the battle was done, the survivors gathered on the scarred plains outside the capital. Cathari children ran free for the first time without chains. Warriors sang songs of defiance, their voices carrying into the smoke-filled sky. Varric stood before Cade, bowing his scaled head. "You've done what none of us believed possible. The Dominion is not invincible." Cade's jaw tightened. Don't make me your symbol. Symbols break. I'm just a soldier who did what had to be done. Taina stepped forward, her feathers glinting in the rising sun. You are wrong, Captain. You are more than a soldier. You are proof. She spread her wings, addressing all who gathered. Her voice carried like thunder. The Deathworlders have returned. They bleed as we bleed, they fall as we fall, but they rise again, and in their rising they lift us all. The Dominion would call them monsters. I say they are the answer we prayed for. The crowd erupted in cries of defiance, voices rising together until the ruins shook with it. That night, beneath a sky still scarred with fire, Cade sat alone on the edge of the camp. His steel hand rested on his rifle, his eyes staring into the endless void above. Mara approached quietly, sitting beside him. For a long moment, neither spoke. Finally, she asked, "So what now?" Cade exhaled, slow and heavy. "Now, we rebuild, we rally, the Dominion not done with us. This was one world, they've got 1,000 more." Mara smirked faintly, "Then we'll take 1,000 more back." Cade chuckled, a sound half bitter, half hopeful. "You make it sound easy." "It's not supposed to be easy," she said softly. "It's supposed to be worth it." High above, the stars burned cold and bright. But to those who had watched the Dominion's iron grip for centuries, they seemed different now. Brighter. For the first time, the galaxy whispered a new story. The Deathworlders had answered. In the Dominion's central spire, far across the galaxy, Commander Zarathkul stood before his masters. His scaled claws dripped with fury as he relayed the news. Vareth was lost, the humans lived. The shadowed voices of the Dominion Council hissed in rage. "Then spread the word further," one commanded. "Tell every world what humanity is, twist their myths, make them fear the Deathworlders so deeply that they will beg us for protection." Another voice whispered like a blade. "And hunt them, find their hidden worlds. If humanity truly rises again, the Dominion will burn them from existence." Zarathkul bowed, venom in his gaze. The war was only beginning.